Welcome to Indie Conquest. Today we're going to be taking a look at a game called Noueni. It's an abstract game. It's a micro game as well that was just part of the Game Crafters micro game Kickstarter. And it gathered quite a bit of attention during that campaign, so I figured I would do a quick little review on it, take a look at how the game plays, and give you my thoughts on it. Okay, let's take a quick look at how Noueni plays. You have your box and you have your instructions. What's nice about the instructions is that they are just 2 pages, and there's, as you can see, very little to read, and there's quite a few diagrams to show you how the game's played and how to score. Basically what the game comes with is 4 decks. Each player, up to 4 players, chooses a deck, and for this demonstration I'm just going to do a 3-player game, so I'll remove the yellow. Each player shuffles up their own decks, and then they will draw 3 cards from the top to form their hand. Let's get their decks out of the way here. And I'll go first. As you'll see, I have these cards that are twice as long as they are wide, sort of like a domino. This game kind of reminds me of dominoes, except that you can overlay over other people's played cards. Basically you're going to choose a card. Say I go first, I'll just play any card I want out, and then I will draw another card into my hand. The next player to go will be able to play any card they want as long as it matches up. Now, there are only a few rules to this game. This would be a fair play because there's 1 prong here and that matches the 1 prong there. I could play it like this if I wanted to because that matches there. I could not do this, however. I match here, but I do not match here, so that would be an issue. Now that's if I made this play, for instance, that's gonna, my opponent's still gonna have 2 points. That's how you score at the end of the game, how many of your colored circles are on the board, and I would have 2 points. So really the best move always in this game is to cover up as many of your opponent's points as you can, because you're basically erasing points from them and you're gaining points at the same time. So the best move that I could make with this card would be to do this. I'm covering up one of their points, and it works because this matches here, and I'm gaining 2 points. I can never at any point cover up another card completely. Even if the board's grown quite large, I can't put a card down that covers up 1 card completely. So let's just say I played this card here because I don't know what I'm doing, and the other player draws back up to 3. Next player comes in, and they're going to look at this, and the best card they could play at this point would be a card that covers up both halves of this card, because then they would be gaining 2 points and they would be knocking both the other players down. Let's see if there's a card that will allow me to do that. Probably not. No, there's not, but let's try to make a little smarter move with this character here, and we'll do this. So now the blue player has gained himself 2 points, but he eliminated 1 point from the green player. Then he'll draw his hand back up to 3. And this will continue on. Players taking turns going around, playing 1 card, drawing 1 card, and over time your board's going to keep growing and expanding. So maybe I'd do that. Draw up. This player here might do something like this. Getting back at the blue player. Now the red player started getting a nice lead here, so maybe the blue player decides he's got to do something to that red player. I don't know if he's got the right card here, but if he did, that'd be really nice. He doesn't have a card that he could play here. That wouldn't, because if he were to play a card here, let's just say this card did work, it's a fair play because it's not covering 1 card, it's covering 2 halves. It's covering a half of this card and a half of this card. So if this card did match up properly, this card could be played here, and it'd be a great move because you'd be removing 2 points from the leader and gaining yourself 2 points. But I don't have a card that does that, so maybe I'll just do that. And so the game would just keep going on and on like this until everyone runs out of their cards. And at that point, you then score by adding up how many colors you have of your own color, and whoever has the most circles wins the game. Very simple, pretty elegant. You do once in a while have a runaway leader if you're playing a 2-player game, but when you have a 3 or 4-player game, there's that checks and balance mechanic where 2 players will start teaming up on the leader, and it sort of draws everyone back in. So that's basically how the game plays. Once you run out of cards, you add up all your scores, how many you have of your color, and whoever has the most wins. Plays in about 10 to 15 minutes, depending upon number of players and how well versed they are in the game. Let's take a look at my thoughts on it. So you got a chance to see how Noueni is played. It's a simple abstract game, but let's first take a look at one of our criteria for this review, and that is the art and appeal of the game. And I'm going to give it a fairly good mark for that. Granted, I'm typically drawn towards some sort of artwork that's thematic. This game is very simple, very elegant, but very well done. It's something that you could see on a store shelf and it would look really nice. It draws people in with its simplicity, and so for that reason I gave it an 8. The mechanics for Noueni are fairly simple and straightforward. It's a very easy game to teach. My kids grasped it right away. The idea of a tile laying game for mechanic wise is pretty common nowadays, but the fact that they used cards and allow you to overlap kind of makes you have to think a little bit and in a different way. Granted, as you're playing, it becomes fairly obvious that the best option is always to cover up both of your opponents, try to score the most points and to remove points from them. So after a few plays, that redundancy kind of comes out. But if you're playing with new players, it's a fun game. It's also quick enough that, you know, if you see yourself going down by, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 points, and it's really hard to come back from that, you know the game is only going to last 10 minutes. So it's nothing. You're not gonna lose any sleep over losing. So for that reason, I give the game a 7.5. It's solid mechanically. It's a pretty solid idea and concept, the overlaying of the cards. Just that if you fall behind a little bit in scoring, it's kind of hard to catch up, and it kind of does become redundant after quite a few plays. Theme. Well, as you can see, there really is no theme. You have basic circles with colors and different connecting lines, and you have to match them up. So it's pretty about as abstract as you can get. I don't want to blast this game with a 0, so I will give it a 5 because the theme isn't so terrible that it deserves a low score. It's just that there's not really a theme to begin with, and I think that is where this game could improve. It's the one area that it had to give sort of a low score because there's no real theme. I think what would be kind of cool, since it has a Japanese theme to it, or name I should say, it'd be kind of cool if you were connecting small little Japanese communities with roads or something along that lines, and then each one of the little communities could be different color, maybe huts or houses, or maybe even fields for agriculture, something along that lines would add quite a bit more theme to the game. So I think if they were to go that direction, that would really raise the bar and raise my score as far as the theme's concerned. Replay value. Like I said, this is a game that's really quick. So whenever you have a game that plays really quick, the replay value is going to be a little bit higher. Also, like I mentioned, it can become redundant after quite a few plays if you're playing with the same player. So maybe if you play it 2 or 3 times, you're going to want to move on to a different game. But it's something that you'll probably always maybe bring off your shelf if you have some new gamers and you want to play something really simple to sort of get them into the evening or whatnot. So for that reason, I give it a 7.5. Overall, I really like this game. I think that the appeal to the game on the Kickstarter was its simple graphics, so it's really hard to knock it for taking that direction or that route for theme. I really do feel though that if this game were to be given a theme of some sort, where you're actually connecting villages or connecting something, and you can still hold on to that Japanese theme, I think that it would really elevate it to a whole new level and maybe make it more appealing to a whole new audience. For that reason, the overall score for this game is a 7, which is pretty solid. Thank you very much for watching this review, and I hope it was helpful for you.